So the engine is out. So here it is on the cherry picker. We got it out today. Spent another few hours on it to get it to this point. So we decided obviously to leave the transmission on it just because there's no room to get your hands back there to get the bell housing bolts out. So we did get it out. So wasn't terrible, wasn't too bad. Hung it at a little bit of an angle and it slid right out. Wasn't too bad. Cool thing about these cars with the hoods without springs on them, you can raise them up a little bit farther and just put yourself a longer prop rod on it, and the hood stands almost straight up and down, so you don't have to take the hood off. But we got it out. A little crusty in here, a lot of barnacles and little bits of rust and stuff down in here, but overall I'm pretty happy with how solid it is. There's really no rust, nothing structural issues. It just all needs cleaned and painted and so forth, but it's not bad. One thing I was going to bring up, that sway bar in the last video I misspoke. I said the balancer was rubbing on it. Actually, it's the pulley was rubbing on it right there. And what that ended up being is the motor mounts that bolt in those two holes here on the engine. These motor mounts, they're just so old, the rubber had collapsed in them, so the front of the engine had sunk, settled down. So that's why the bottom of the pulley was hitting on the sway bar. So new motor mounts should remedy that. So that's what was going on there. But we got some cleanup to do. You can see the bottom of where the radiator was, a lot of crunchies, but I don't think there's actually any holes in it. It just looks to be pretty, somewhat significant surface rust, but yeah, and then down in here. But I think, structurally, I'm pleasantly surprised because it looked like it was going to be pretty bad, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So anyway, we were able to get it out. Didn't take too much effort. It's kind of weird. You have to lift the engine up to get that harness that's right there. It all wraps around the engine. You kind of got to lift the engine up to even get it off. So we'll have to remember that going back in. One thing I wanted to bring up from the last video, I mentioned this thing is heavily optioned, and I wanted to go over all the options because it's pretty impressive, honestly. So this car is a Starfire SX, so that's the model. So you could have ordered the Starfire or the Starfire SX. This is an XX, SX, which is the D in the VIN code, the second letter of the VIN code. And then it's a Sport Coupe, and then 5.0 liter 2-barrel, and it was built in Lordstown, Ohio. So that's all the VIN stuff on it. So the Starfire SX model got you the sport console. It got you bucket seats. It got you the electronic ignition, so it's the HEI ignition. It got the sports mirrors, so the painted sport mirrors. The sports steering wheel, which is really cool because being an Olds 442 person, this is a mini version of the sport steering wheel which is larger in the A-body cars. So pretty cool. So we've got a mini version, and then I've got one in that car, and then I've got one in that car. So I've got 3 sport mirrors now, sport steering wheels, which is kind of cool. And then the Starfire SX also got you front disc brakes, which I already showed those earlier, which need to be maintained or need to be replaced. Rear stabilizer bar, which underneath, so it's the kind of a panhard bar is what I always call it, but it's got no, it is a sway bar. It's not a panhard, it's a sway bar. So it's got a sway bar under it. And then floor carpeting, and then the wheel opening molding. So this molding here, that's what the SX got you. Option wise, the couple that bought this thing knew, they loaded it up. So the car was basically $4,000 as an SX, and then they added another $2,000 worth of options. So this was a $6,000 car new. So imagine that, buying a $4,000 car and adding another $2,000 to it would be like buying a $40,000 car and adding $20,000 worth of options, which is kind of crazy to think about, but that's what they did. So the options they paid up for: deluxe seat belts, which I don't honestly know what that means, but it's got the retracting seat belts that go over like a normal seat belt that we're used to now. So I don't know. Apparently that was an option then to get them like that. Tinted windows, door edge moldings, which would have gone here, which you can see they were there, and they're actually in the back. They're right there. So we have them. They're just not on the car. rear window defogger. So it's got the, you know, good old lines on the, which that window's massive. So that actually is probably a pretty good option to get on this car. Air conditioning, limited slip. So it comes regular, it comes with a 229 open rear end. And this one, they added the limited slip to it. They added power brakes. They added an engine block heater, so obviously power brakes. The engine block heater is right here. You can see it there, and where that core, the other side, there's a, you know, a core plug, and then this side they put the block heater in it right there. And I have the wiring harness and everything for it. And then what else we got? The 5-liter engine. They paid up for that because normally it would have just been a 4-cylinder engine. I misspoke, I think, in an earlier one. They never put Olds engines in these cars. It was a 4-cylinder, like a GM engine that they put in them. I can't remember what liter. I was going to write that down. But anyway, it was a 4-cylinder, and you could go up to the 5-liter Chevy engine here. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the Turbo 200. They also paid for the tilt steering. So this is not just a rigid column, so it does have the tilt steering there. You can see the knob there. Power steering, they paid up for that. They also got white raised letter tires, paid up for that. Auxiliary lighting, which was a light in the engine bay, which is right here, doesn't have a bulb in it. There's a light in the glove box, and then there's a headlamp on reminder. So if you turn the car off, it tells you your headlights are on. So I assume that's a light or a buzzer on the dash when you turn it off so you don't run your battery down. AM FM 8-track. So this is an 8-track stereo here. Got the 8-track player. So if anybody has any 8-track tapes they want to give me so we can try that out. I don't have any. Just before my time. I'm a cassette child. And then the GT package, which got you the stripes. So it got you these GT stripes here, and then on the hood. So those white stripes, and then chrome wheels, which there's no chrome left on them, but we do have those. They're pretty rusty. And then the gauge, all the gauges. The GT package got you all the gauges, which I showed before. So you got temperature, volts, oil pressure, and the clock, and the tach. So that's all the options they paid up for. So pretty cool car. Apparently she said there was intermittent wipers you could get. I don't know why she didn't get it. Why would you get every option except that one? I don't know. So it just looks like high-low wipers, I believe. So she said every option but intermittent wipers. Not sure what she had against intermittent wipers, but all right, so there's the car. There's where we're at. We have the engine out of it. We're going to get the engine on a stand and start disassembling it to see what it looks like with the heads off and with the intake off, and see how crusty it looks, and determine what our next steps are after that as far as how much work we need to put in to the engine and what we want to do with it. So that's where we're at.